Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So today is going to be very exciting. We have Jeff on the channel. He is an underscore trainer on TikTok. And basically, Jeff and I recovered together. So he's someone that I met when I was at the worst of my anxiety situation, and we got to walk through recovery together. And now we get to help people together, separately, but together, through anxiety recovery. So we wanted to talk about basically, you get to hear Jeff's story. We'll talk about anxiety recovery, kind of some tips, general advice, and then anxiety recovery as believers. We are both Christians, so kind of how our faith ties into this. I know on this channel it's a big deal because it's really hard sometimes as Christians to find that mix of biblical truth, but then also like real stuff that's happening in our body and how to kind of reconcile that and move forward, right? So this is going to be podcasty, casual, and we're just going to start with hearing Jeff's story. So Jeff, who are you? How are you? Tell us everything, and we'll just go from there.
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Emily. What a grand experience we shared together and to bring us to where we're at here today, being able to talk about it. Wow. Who would ever think me and you be here years later where we're at? Yeah. So thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm anxiety trainer. I was never thought I'd be doing this, but I always said that if I ever find, because over 37 years ago, my story began by a car accident,
Mhm.
recovering from a head injury, smoked some weed, things got involved, and my
Yeah.
anxiety lit up, right? So to think that I'd be here almost 4 decades later. But I always said, if I ever find a way through this, because back in the 80s, there's literally nothing. I
Yeah.
mean, you would go to the doctor. Oh, yeah, you got anxiety. Here's some Paxil. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And maybe some psychotherapy or something like that. But I didn't believe any of that. But to end up here, but I always said that if I ever find a way through, I will tell everybody. I hope. So I'm living my dream. I'm blessed that I'm able to, because it happened for me. It happened for you. It happens. We're helping people all around the world for something that I thought I was broken. I thought there's no way. And some people would tell you, you'll have it forever. You need to do
Right.
this or that, or, suck it up or whatever. But yeah, very, very blessed to be where I'm at um, and
Amazing.
telling the story. So, like I said, 37 years ago, car accident. Um, I had a tremendous amount of symptoms. I went to my neurologist because I had a concussion and I was explaining everything that happened. And he goes, yeah, he goes, no, you got anxiety, man. You're fine. I'm like, no, it's my brain, man. You don't understand. I bumped my head. He goes, no, you're fine. You're
Yeah.
cognitively fine. So I didn't, and he goes, you need to go upstairs and see that doctor and he'll take care of you. I'm 22 at the time. I wasn't living at home. I was living on my own, had a business, doing okay. Took over at the top when the doors opened up. It said psychiatry. I
Yeah.
said,
The fourth
I'm
floor,
not
right?
crazy,
Classic.
man. No.
Yeah.
I left. I left and I went embarked on this journey that I was convinced I was broken. I
Oh yeah.
could not believe that I had anxiety. No, you don't know what's going on inside me. Similar to what we all have been through, that you go to a doctor, whether you have whatever, and they tell you, say, no, you don't know what's going on in here. So
Yeah.
I start my journey, and over the years, about a 6, 7 year period, I had anxiety, but I was just a young kid, just bumbling through it. I kind of crafted a life around it, but um, it inhibited some things I was doing, but other than that, I kind of got back to center. I just was okay, right? And then I watched my brother die at age, I was 30, it was back in 1995. He had AIDS and counted his last breaths, actually. Was there when he passed away. Man, that lit the candle for my fear of death and health anxiety. I literally thought I was dying of everything, literally everything. Um, so that carried on for years, went on. I was living in Arizona at the time, just thought I was broken, but I still went on. There wasn't any other option. So I went to work. I was exalted my career. I got promotions. I had kids, bought houses, things like that, but had tremendous anxiety and a lot of pain, a lot of prayer. And then as it went on to then, before my father passed away, my Another brother passed away. My mom passed away. And then years ago, before we met, I had lost my brother. He died all of a sudden. Another brother got, there's only a few left, got diagnosed with cancer and just lit the candle in me with, like we had shared. I got a dizzy blast and just lit my candle, man. I went in straight panic mode. I bounced up from the chair. I was like, oh my God, what just happened? Right. And I was just chilling. Right. And then checked my blood pressure, my pulse, went to the ER, panic attack, of course, but it just started and went into an unbelievable, every symptom you can possibly have. It went wild, and then jumped into a program, met you, and
Yep.
here I am.
The
And
rest
over
is
some time and patience, and um, with God guiding me the entire way, here we
yeah.
are.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it's funny too because it's like if you look at you, you're like the perfect person to help people with their anxiety because I feel like men especially come and sometimes I'm not even the best person to help men because they want to be coached by like another man and they look at you like, okay, this guy like he's lifting weights, he's like this buff dude. Like if he has anxiety, it's okay that I have anxiety. Like, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where anxiety does not discriminate.
Women
Yeah.
have higher, they're easier to get help. I've noticed that since I've been coaching. There are ones that reach out for some help. Hey, I need some help. They'll actually
Yeah.
look into it. They'll apply the methods. Dudes, the ego gets involved.
Yeah.
Give me the cliff notes. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Or
The
or
hard.
they don't think they're. I didn't. Youngest of six boys. I thought well, I had my older brothers tell me, "Shut up, Jeff. You're a sissy, man. You just suck it up." My entire life, I told them I couldn't drive. Driving was hard, or I was worrying about this, or I had a symptom. They called me basically a crybaby, whatever. And all in my adult life, your older brothers never stop being your older brothers. So you get this state that I just got. I wouldn't tell anybody about it. And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of men fighting like I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not a man. There's something wrong with me or whatever. There's not, man.
100%. Yeah, because at the end of the day, like when it comes to the anxiety stuff, I would say anybody that deals with that level of symptoms on a daily basis is gonna feel scared, right? Like if they don't know what's going on. And that's kind of my thing too, is with the whole doctor stuff. My first doctor, I went to we're still getting ER bills. We're still getting medical bills. I probably won't pay most of them. They're like just hitting collections at this point. It's crazy. But when I went to my primary care doctor when this first started, I was having derealization, didn't know what it was, right? I felt like I was going to have a seizure, never had a seizure, no reason to think that, thought I was going to faint, like just all these symptoms at once, heart palpitations, everything. And I listed off my 700 symptoms and she looked at me and she's like, "Okay," like almost like she was annoyed and she was just I was ruining her day. She was busy. She's like, "Okay, you have anxiety. Like you need to see a psychiatrist." And I'm like, oh God, no, 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 like something is wrong. And then of course at that point too, I'm like, am I going crazy? Like derealization already makes you feel that way. And if I could go back to that point, it's hard to say, right? Because I think I might have still been stubborn and been like, no, something's wrong with me. But I wish more doctors would be like, hey, it's not just anxiety. It's the fact that your body gets to this state where it's stressed out and you're having real symptoms, but those symptoms are not dangerous, right? You're just in this state of chronic fight or flight, chronic stress. Your body's kind of nervous system's overflowed, whatever you want to say. And once you hit that point, yeah, their symptoms, yeah, they are real. You're not imagining them. But they only feel scary because you're adding the anxiety portion to it. So it's almost like two things, right? There's the stress response and then there's the anxiety. And the anxiety can turn it into that big hamster wheel that just never ends unless you put it into it?
Amen.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's the hook of, changing your, your response to everything,
Yep.
that anxiety cycle that keeps you stuck.
Yeah.
Never thought of it that way. You come in, you think, I got to fix the dizziness, I got to fix the DPDR, I got to do all these things. That's what's wrong with me. When after you peel the onion, you realize, no, that's just the after effect of what happened after years of rumination and overthinking, catastrophizing, and letting your brain just go wild. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you do the same thing. You ask it. everybody here is an overthinker. Oh yeah, I overthink, you know.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is like there's some people that I come across where I'm kind of like trying to get a picture of their life. Not that it really matters what set it all off. That's just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. But just picture wise, like it's like what was going on the last couple years before this started? And a lot of people that I come across, or some people are like, haven't had any anxiety. I've never had anxiety. And they're explaining things, and I'm like, it's because anxiety, we think of it in like this one certain definition, but truly it's adding stress to something that you can't change, right? Fighting against things that you can't change, essentially, right? Unproductive behaviors, overthinking, and even like good overthinking. Like I have to catch myself. We're planning another Europe trip soon, and I will sit in the bathtub and just go Google cruises, cruises, cruises. And I'm just like, oh, my head hurts. I gotta stop. And
Yeah.
the anxiety cycle, I didn't stop, right? I never stopped. And I was always thinking, and even just like good stress too, like traveling, right? If for work I was traveling all the time, I was working all the time, I had kids, I just had so much going on, and I didn't view it as a stressor or anxiety. And a lot of people too that initially say that, like, I'm not an anxious person, they start to go through recovery and they're like, holy crap, I was an anxious person. Like when they start to apply this to their whole life, because anxiety recovery, it's not getting rid of your symptoms, right? It's learning the mindset, and the mindset is what gets rid of your, the state that you're in, at least for now. And when you apply it to the rest of your life, then you're good, right? No matter what comes your way.
That's the what all that worry, all that rumination was what got embedded in your body, manifests as all the symptoms, these
Yeah.
unproductive behaviors, but you don't think of it that way. I was the same way. I mean, I was
Yeah.
chilling on my couch
Mm-hmm.
and I got a dizzy blast, but because I was predispositioned to catastrophize it,
Yeah.
I went in the mode. Then I went into check mode. I mean, took my blood O2, my heart rate, my blood pressure
Yep.
for weeks after I had that dizzy blast. Multiple doctor visits. Hundred. I think I even have. This was a day in the life.
Oh my gosh.
Blood pressures, how I felt. Did I have anxiety? No anxiety. What time of the day it was? Um, minimum anxiety, no anxiety. Well, after reading all these numbers, it's
Oh my gosh.
like
Yeah.
I had pretty good blood pressure. And my heart was okay. I was kind of healthy, but I mean, I was
Yeah.
watching every digit. Oh my God, this is bad. And yeah, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
just kept me just. Little did I know that all that fixing, all that focus, all that attention that I was giving was just keeping me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
100%. No, I had every monitor you can think of. I even had like a portable EKG, the cardio one, if you had that one. But I had that. I had everything, and it's so crazy looking back on it. And sometimes I'll get on like these initial coaching calls, and people will have all these weird things, like they'll have like tape on their glasses for the BVD, whatever it is, right? My husband walks by and he's just like, I remember those days, and it's so funny because I had all these weird things going on. At the end of the day, it's like I was healthy, I was young, like there's no reason. And with the heart rate, I remember at one point it was high, right? And then it would get low, and then I'm like, is 50 gonna kill me? Like, what's going on? And then high again. But I was so focused, and that focus is not good.
that blue piece of tape on the floor, you see it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was from years ago when I was dizzy, because dizzy
Your
is
life alert. Just
where
kidding.
I'm at. I was practicing everything to get my balance. I mean,
Mm,
in addition to working out, I was doing everything standing, close my eyes. There's certain things,
all the
doing
yeah.
everything I could, right? And
Oh,
then a friend of mine, I said, "This is what I'm doing," and she's pretty straightforward. And she, one of the girls I trained, and she goes, "Just because you got good balance doesn't mean you're not dizzy." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. What I think."
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
yeah,
true.
both good. I'm balanced, but doesn't mean you can't still get dizzy. But
Yep.
anyway,
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes that most of us make is tackling those symptoms where it's like, oh, the dizziness or the lightheadedness or like whatever the case might be. And we're tackling those singular symptoms, which again is stressing our bodies more because normal people don't sit around all day, doing all these different things to keep us okay or get us okay or whatever it is. And yeah, if you symptom chase, because as you know, it's like symptoms morph. And a lot of times people come in too and they're like, hey, I have this one symptom. If it weren't for this one symptom, I'm like, let me tell you the future, you're gonna have more symptoms. Like once this one symptom goes away and you kind of start to respond to it, then the next one's gonna pop up, and it's just how it goes. And that's why the symptoms are never the problem.
Thinking that if I just get rid of this one, I'm good.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would put
yeah. Boom, then another one. Next thing I had to go from dizziness was my first heart palpitation got introduced. Dizziness and DPDR are really
hand in hand.
cousins. When
Hmm.
you think about it, having derealization, the whole world kind of feels like it's like this. So you
Yep.
think you're dizzy, but you're not dizzy because they're so closely related. Then
I,
I had internal vibrations where it felt like a phone or a phone on silent was going through my bones, like a
oh
zzz.
yeah.
That was going on. I mean, from the
Yeah.
vision issues, the band around the head, the
Oh,
choking, the gut issues. My God, just everything. But it kept going. Then it would go back to other ones. You'd get one like whack-a-mole. You'd get one, okay, they're doing better here. Then a new one would pop up, and an old one would come back, and it hit
yep.
you all at once. And panic attacks would go away, come back, and it's definitely anxiety doesn't give you a free pass. That's
No, it's not. Yeah, but it's not a bad thing that recovery takes so long, I would say, because a lot of times, obviously, anyone that approaches you is probably like, okay, how long is it going to take? It's like our first question. And what I tell people is it's like, actually, the ones that I'm going to quote recover, because it's not even the ones that quote unquote recover in like a month, I don't know, right? Have they had to practice the mindset enough to get it ingrained? I would say no too, right? And so the people they're like, this has been going on for a year. It's like, yes, but it's not a bad thing. And I would say like quote unquote setbacks when your symptoms increase, like all this stuff happening, symptoms morphing, it lasting a long time, it's actually good in the long run because that's what builds the habits. That's what rewires the brain, whatever, to make it your nature. Otherwise, you go through this terrible experience, you recover, and then you forget everything. And then you end up right where you were, or worse. So,
yeah, and there's so many words I think that have been used in anxiety because you have third parties, you have doctors, psychiatrists, and they thank God that we have them because they figured out what's going on internally. Dr.
yep.
Claire Weeks, she actually had anxiety that she went not just from the medical purview but also her personal experience. But so many words are out there that when you look at like recovered or recovered, what
Yeah.
does that mean? I mean, truly, when everybody's going to have anxiety, but you're going to have at some level in your life. It just depends on how you react to it. Is your body so sensitized and you're just on fire, or you just have normal anxiety like anybody else? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that a lot of those words it becomes goal oriented. Well, I want to recover. How long? How long does it take? And I'm the same way. I mean, it just changes. No road's the same. And if I was to tell anybody, if somebody recovered in a month to 3 months, I,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they didn't have Jeff Lyden's symptoms. There's no way.
That's my feel too.
Period.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about prom dress. Do I pick out this type of anxiety?
Yeah, but
I'm not
like your
talking about
body's
I'm not talking about me, right. I'm talking about 24/7 for the longest period of time that is coming from every angle. It's debilitating anxiety.
yeah.
Takes a while to recover from.
Yep.
Before you know it, you're getting movement. Once you start applying the right mindset, you're starting to recognize your resistance. You start applying the move. You're accepting, you're allowing, you're bringing it with you. All right, I'm noticing you start getting little confidence, not much, but you start, okay, I got this, and you're moving forward. That momentum continues as long as you don't, let's say, go back. I'm out, after a month, sweet, got it all figured out. You'll probably do what I did over the years, which you're going to go back to your old ways. It takes a minute to instill this new mindset
Yeah.
because as I learned, it's myelinated in your mind. This, when I spend my 30, 40 grand in psychology, it's myelination is what my psychologist taught me, which is a belief system, a belief pattern, a response, right? It's why hardwired into us. And to get a new one, you don't destroy the old myelination. It's you're going down a new road. It's like
Yep.
going to through a big field of tall grass, and this old way was like an open highway, a autobahn. No cars on the road. You just
Yeah.
jump on it, boom, I respond by, oh my God, what's happening? Focus, resist, resist, resist. Everything, can't get rid of it. Whereas this new mindset of like, all right, man, this is the way I feel. It is what it is. Let's go, bring it, and carrying on with life, right? Not paying as much attention, not fearing it, not trying to push it away, right? So then now you go into this new field. You don't go down the old Autobahn, this field of tall grass, and you go down one time. You walk through it once, twice, three times. You got a little path. Then you get a little bit wider, a little bit wider, and you keep walking and walking and walking and walking. Eventually, you got a sidewalk. Then you got a road. Before you know it, it becomes a new highway. The other one's not. It's you didn't destroy it. You just don't use it anymore. So it gets dilapidated, and this is your new highway. Um,
Exactly.
Takes a minute, you know.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. There's actually that book. I don't know if you've read it, The Winning the War in Your Mind by Craig Groeschel.
Mm-mm.
It's a good one. So he's a pastor, and like the way he words it is ruts and then trenches of truth. And it's the same concept. And he says like a rut, like when your tires going through the mud and it creates this rut, that's like your neural pathways. And so the more you think a thought, which when you get in the anxiety cycle, even like the past, but like I feel like when you really get into it, you can quickly build some of the worst habits like so fast, but those become ruts, right? And so your brain's like, okay, we're going to think this thought because it's the easy route. It's the rut. And then trenches of truth, as he calls it, are you have to kind of go and like build that trench over the rut. And long story short, the more that you respond, the more that you change your mindset, as you say, surrender, then eventually that's going to become your new like pathway or highway or whatever. And it's so true. And that's why it takes so long, right? So long is not bad. To whoever's listening and is feeling discouraged about how long it takes.
Focus on time. As I recovered, time is an enemy. Time is anxiety. Meaning we're looking at it from the view of when. I call it the W's to an apocalypse. When, that's a big one. Why? Why is this happening?
Oh, that's good.
WTH,
Yeah.
you can throw in, any kind of W that you have in there. Why is this happening? When's it happening? Um, and all those questions that the time becomes anxiety because you're looking for progress, you're looking for a goal, and then now it becomes, if I'm not moving in this direction, now okay, nope, this isn't working. What's going on? Anxiety, right? Opposed
Yep.
to anxiety, the more time you put in is your friend.
Yep.
Sweet, I have another month. Sweet, I have 6 months. Sweet, I have a year. Been 2 years. Heck yes.
That's so true.
That
Yeah, that's
attitude,
it.
there's no anxiety, where it is your ally. The more time you respond, it is your ally. Opposed to, we, as an anxious mind, we're looking like, time, when's it going to, when I recover?
Oh man, that is a really good way of putting it. Cause like, I mean, being consistent is really hard. And I would say after going through the anxiety cycle, like I am so much more consistent. It's so crazy, right? Because you get really good at being you have no other option, right? You either stay on the recovery journey or you don't and you get back on the hamster wheel, right? And so it's a good way of putting it where it's like, man, good for me. Like I've been consistent for 6 months or a year or however long it is versus why is it taking so long?
Yep.
And that's what I was gonna say earlier. So um yeah, full transparency now for me, I would say like started December 2021. Now it's 2025, which is crazy, by the way. But what's lingering, right? Every now and then I get some dizziness. I definitely have a lot of tension because when I was like this for so long,
Right.
all my traps and stuff are like super tense. So kind of getting my body still in this untense state. And then, just regular life stuff, right? And like you were saying, it's one of those things where recovery really means learning how to respond to things that are out of our control, that are uncomfortable, discomfort, which can show up as anxiety or show up as like something you just went through with your brother. Like that's super uncomfortable and tragic. And how are you going to respond to it? You know what I mean? And so, yes, those of you that are in this chronic state of 24/7 symptoms, that dies down as a consequence of recovery, but it takes time and it's kind of like peeling back layers of an onion. And I would say I was chronically uncomfortable the whole time because it's like I'd get to the point where, okay, I'm no longer agoraphobic. Great. But now being out here still feels really weird. And that's okay. Now I can drive. Great. But driving my kids is hard. Well, now I can drive my kids, but driving on the interstate's hard. And it's just like you gotta keep going. And like for me now, I would say you know, fully living, traveling, driving, kids, everything. What sounds uncomfortable to me is like maybe hopping on the interstate by myself for like several hours. That still sounds like I could 100% do it like right now if I wanted to, but I would still be a little bit like, whew, okay, you know? And all that to say, it takes time, right? And it takes peeling back those layers to get back to like comfort or even get comfort for some that have kind of always been in this cycle, you know?
Oh, it does. It takes, and then what happens is, I mean, anybody go drives 5 hours on the road, you're going to feel uptight, out of your mind. You
Yeah,
know, the
absolutely.
difference is expecting that I feel, I'm tired. We'll get a, you
Yep.
know, I'm seeing double right now. I've been driving for 9 hours. I was the same way. Driving was huge to me. The highways here, I couldn't decades, literally decades, couldn't go across bridges, couldn't get on. I'd get on the interstate. I had employees drive me places. Uber came
Yeah.
out. I Ubered places. I had employees that are in their 20s. I was in my 30s, 40s, something like that. 40s. Hey, you got to drive me. And there's literally two exits. I couldn't
Yeah.
do it. Um,
Yeah.
that then it got to where driving, like you're saying, one exit at a time, get in the car. And then as I practiced over time, it's like a decision to practice. It's not like a decision like I'm a surrender and everything's gonna be okay. Right.
Mhm.
I'm gonna let it be there. It's a decision to practice and decision to stay in the long game because it is definitely an unbelievable practice that gets you to the point where you actually can be like, whatever, and you
Yep.
carry on. When that happens, that's when the magic happens, and you think, okay, that's all I got to do. Yeah, right. Trust me. I said it in 10 words or whatever it was. It takes a lot of work, but you will level up as you did. And
Yep.
it feels like that. Okay, I got this one and that one.
Yeah, it
And the
does.
whole world kind of opens up to you.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny too when people will ask like, "Well, when did you start? How long until you did this and this and this?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And even looking back, it obviously isn't like you wake up and the DPDR is gone or the dizziness is gone. It's kind of one of those things like the first time I really noticed it, I was sitting at the beach with my husband and everything was an exposure at that point. But I was sitting there and I was like, whoa, I just realized I've been feeling normal, right? And then I was like, oh, and there it goes, and it was gone. And then I was like, actually,
Uh,
pretty weird.
I,
But it's one of those things that's always retroactive. Like when your focus is off of it, you get to the point where you're just living. And for a long time too, everything was like an exposure and it was planned and I had it on my calendar, which I think is important to get started. But then it was like the stuff where my mom shows up, she's like, hey, let's go shopping. And I'm like, wait, it's 6 o'clock. I'm usually pretty bad at 2 o'clock. So this is, and like,
yeah.
okay, I guess we'll go. And then like these things happen or we're driving and she's like, oh shoot, I have to go run into Walmart. Come with me. And I'm like, Walmart at 7 p.m.
You
And
gotta
then,
go and do that.
yeah, I'm like, I didn't plan that one. And then that's the stuff where your really focus is off and you're just living your life and you're like, okay, like I can do this, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah,
So
I call it a fading, a shading, an erosion
yeah.
away because one next thing you know, you truly won't be thinking about it. Whereas when the DPDR, because the checking in on symptoms super normal, even though you don't really have them that much, you're still checking. Is it there? Is it there? Is it there? That went
Yeah.
on forever. That
Yep.
faded away. It's not.
Yep.
It's not. It's not even a noticeable difference.
Yep.
Literally, like out there watching grass grow. You're
Yeah,
just watching,
literally.
watching, watching, watching.
That's
Whereas
true. Yeah.
stare at it long enough and say, you're insane because you've been out there looking at the yard that long. Don't look
Yeah.
at it. Don't look at it. Come back. You'll check it out. And I always tell, look at progress that way. Forget about progress. If anything, look back at where you come from. If you look anywhere, don't look forward. Look back.
Yep.
Right? I remember it was bad. I'm moving. Forget about it. I'm going to
Yep.
continue doing this. I remember learning that I would continue doing this action that's helping me move forward. I know
Mhm.
I'm not where I was. Don't know how long it's going to take. Don't know if, when, whatever. But I'm gonna keep doing it because something's happening. Right? Some magic's happening. And I remember hearing that because I was so goal oriented. Well, everybody is okay. 3 months, 2 months.
Yeah.
Am I gonna feel better? What? 6 months? Are you there? Are you
Yeah.
out there? I mean, all of us do it. I'm not making fun. It's just normal.
Yep.
It's part of us, right? Because imagine if you got sick, you get a flu, your body naturally how much longer am I feeling better? I don't feel better. If I take this, do I feel better? I have a cold. I have a broken leg. Well, my leg feel a little bit better today. I mean, it's hardwired into us. But with anxiety, because it's counterintuitive, we got to take our eye off that ball, right? Because it hurts us. Um, but as we do that and look back at the wins, all right, man. But I remember hearing one guy says, "You've had movement. What makes you think
Yeah.
you're not going to continue having movement if you continue doing the things you're doing? So
Yeah.
forget about where you're headed. If you look back where you've been, all right, and you just do your job, right, left, right, left. Anxiety, recognize resistance, respond. Recognize resistance, respond. 1 foot, right foot, left foot, and you're gonna get punched in the face. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna have ups and downs. You have doubts. There's tears, everything, but keep doing it. You get there. It's not maybe, it's inevitable.
Yep.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Take
100.
your mind off that. I'm just, all right, I'll get there. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah.
trust me. I mean, for a guy who had it for
Yeah.
over
Trust us.
4 decades, that was impossible. Didn't care. Actually, when I went to recovery, I was like, well, I'll never get there, but
Yep.
I just want to get through here. I just
Yeah.
wanted to get some of the stuff going. I still thought I was broken. Never thought I'd be where I'm at today. Never, ever, never driving on highways I couldn't for decades. I'm in the left lane as fast as you can. I was doing, one time I got like 100. I wasn't trying. I just forgot what I was going on. Now
Yeah.
I'm in the Bay Area, uh, going to Oakland, San Francisco, over bridges,
Yep.
impossible.
Yep.
Was what it was like going to the moon,
Yeah. Literally.
and I go to the moon regularly now, and it's like nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
That's
never
so
thought
funny.
it'd be there. So, oh, if I can do it, anybody can. Period.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you. Even like when I started recovering, I had get so my personality type before this like travel, like that was like trips are like my favorite thing. And I love planning trips. I was like super adventurous. And when this all happened, I became a shell of myself, right? And I got to this point where I was like, all that I need to do, this is actually so sad. But my first goal was like, if my husband were to die, of course, because I'm anxious, and that's what I thought about was anxious, in that state. And I was like, if he were to die, I couldn't even drive myself and my kids to my parents' house, which is 45 minutes an hour away. And I'm like, I just need to be able to get in the car and just drive if there was an emergency, or if I had to go to the emergency room, right? And my husband dies, what am I gonna do? So I was like, I have to be able to just do the basics. And I was like, I don't even care about flying on planes again. I don't even care about traveling. I just need to like be self-sufficient enough that if there were an emergency, I can leave my house. And so my bar was pretty low. And then as I started to recover, I'm like, okay, getting it back. But it's funny too, because like even as I was way past that low bar that I had set, I still felt like at times, man, am I making progress? And it's so funny because I'd be like, come on, my goal was to emergency drive myself to the ER if I need to, or drive myself to my parents' house if my husband were to die. And now I'm taking my kids to the park by myself. Like, of course I've made progress. And it's like you sort of like shake yourself a little bit, but it's one of those things. It's like really hard to see in the moment sometimes.
Anxiety wants to pull you, even if you, and I ask this question to my clients all the time, people I'm coaching.
Yeah.
We'll have leveled up or something like that, and they're hitting me with something. It's the stickiest thing ever.
Yep.
And I say, I want to make a montage of this.
Yeah.
I wish I could catch their face when I ask them how much, how do I put it? I say, how much improvement, how, are things different than it was when you began? Oh
Mhm.
my God. Some people are, oh, sheesh. I mean, they'll give this
Yeah.
dramatic, their eyes will roll, oh my God. It's night and day.
Mhm.
I said, don't forget that.
Yep.
Don't
That's
forget that.
mhm.
Right now, with the anxiety has you just forget about all that progress, and you're like, "Well, I got this thing right now."
Yep.
Whoa, whoa,
Like,
whoa, 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 whoa. Remember, we're gonna do
yep.
the same move. Go back to work. Put in the reps. Let's go.
Yep, exactly. It's like we know what got us here. Don't do that again, right? Just one foot in front of the other. Don't look too far ahead. Look moment by moment and just go, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
And that's so good. All right, let's shift. Let's talk about, so you and I are both Christians. Um, One thing that I really struggle with, right, when I fell into the anxiety cycle is I was being met with a lot, and prayer is not a bad thing. So I'm not saying, I mean, definitely I prayed 24/7, right? But I was being met with a lot of like, even prayer where it's like, okay, we're praying for healing. How do you feel? And I'm like, the same. And like, well, we're gonna pray again. We're gonna keep praying. And I'm just like, man, I was like, got to a point where I didn't want to go to church. And I'm like, this is so frustrating. Like, these people aren't getting it. And I felt like you got the science world over here that's like, take this medication and therapy and whatever else. Then you have the Christian world that's like, okay, pray more, have more faith. What's wrong with you? It's a demon. And it was really difficult. And so kind of where I came, this is actually the biggest reason why I do what I do now is because that gap was like not filled. And I feel like where I stand now on it is, could God have healed me miraculously? 100%, right? God can work miracles. He does work miracles. But would that have benefited me? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? And I would say like a lot of people too struggle with like, I just want to heal from God. I just want to pray and heal from God. And it's like, okay, well, pray, but maybe they're crossing my path and your path and this information of practical steps to take. And maybe it takes some effort on your part too, right? And so it's like our God can heal us in practical ways. He can heal us in slow ways. And the Bible talks about like transforming our mind. Well, it's like transformation takes a lot of work. I think of like body transformation. You're not just gonna like pick a couple weights and you got six pack, right? It takes like consistency, changing your lifestyle, changing your habits, like that's transformation. And same thing too, it's like, well, don't be anxious about anything, but pray about everything in the Bible. Okay, but how? Take your thoughts captive, but how? And so there's these practical steps that you can take to transform your mind, right? To quote unquote rewire your brain, whatever. And the whole like faith thing, I will say the way that I feel about that is to trust God is to know God. And I definitely did lack trust at the time because I didn't know God well enough, I don't think, and I'll know him for the rest of my life more and more and more. But I felt like I was so scared of death and health anxiety and stuff because I wasn't giving it to God. And I was just kind of like it was all on my shoulders. And like there was a huge anxiety component that does kind of like pull you apart from God. So it's like, yes, right? Having more faith is good advice, praying is good advice. But there's also this practical thing in between where it's like there's also steps maybe you can take.
Yeah, 100%. I've well raised in a family um of Christians. My mother was saved when I was, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that, right? So my house was my father eventually became saved, so there was Christianity in my household. So 12 or something like that, I gave my life to God, but definitely went down a different road.
Yeah,
I didn't, but I was like, oh yeah, I want to be saved. But anyways,
I'm a Christian. Yeah. But I
Christian,
don't
now I'm saved, and I don't want to go to hell. So anyway,
exactly, yeah.
so anxiety hits, right?
Mhm.
Every time, one thing I did was like, okay, I need to pray more. So I started reading my Bible more. The first time in my 20s, I'm doing something wrong, man. I knew I had to turn to him, right? So I started reading the Bible more. I started doing that. And I changed my life. I changed my diet. I started not partying as much. And I really kind of cleaned me up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it helped, right?
Yep.
So I thought that was kind of the magic sauce. And over the years, anxiety come, watching my brother pass and having even more symptoms in life comes at you. I would use prayer as an antidote. All right, I'm
Yeah.
gonna pray like I call on God 911. God, here we go. Let's do this.
Yep.
And yes, prayer, believe everything you're saying.
Yes.
And I got to the point where, man, I remember having anxiety and marching around my house, binding demons, everything like that. But I'm doing it to get rid of anxiety.
Yep.
And I understand that we can ask things of God. And I matured finally, goes fast forward some decades to where the last time where my brother, he's dealing with stage 4 cancer. It's inevitable. And he's going through brain surgery. I think I'm dying the entire time. I've got every symptom. And James 1:2 came to us, which was count it all joy when you go through various trials, And I'm going to paraphrase here. It's God basically testing your faith. Let perseverance and endurance have it perfect work, have its work in you, so you become perfect, whole, complete, lacking nothing. Right? And
Yep.
it don't like, okay, all right, God, do you got this? You know, he's doing the word test. And once again, I'm not a scholar, but it's used some other place in the New Testament where it's basically the same as refining gold. So he's burning out all the chaff of getting your faith a little bit stronger, right? So
Yep.
everything I had led up all the prayer. Was it answered right then? No. Was it answered later on? Obviously, yes.
Yep.
Was it happen right then? But I had to give it to God to just say, all right, hey, this is it. I'm going through this for a reason, Lord. All right, I'm giving it to you. I believe. I believe. Not
Mhm.
asking for healing right then, just believing in the journey. All right,
Yep.
God, you got this. Right.
Yep.
And I believe that there's something is going to come out of this.
Yep.
What it is, I don't know. Right.
Yep.
That is tied with the surrender, where I surrender trying to fix I'm not using God as a 911 to just fix my stuff and then go back to living the way I was, where I finally surrendered. Hey, God, this is your deal, whatever it is, let's go. It was hard. It was a mindset shift. And we meditated on that verse and repeated it a lot. So yeah, I think it kind of echoes with what you're saying right there, that
Yep.
I was the type, I used it as a tool. I remember I even wrote my brother that went through, when he had anxiety because of the cancer. He was a Special Forces Marine, one of the hardest men I know. This guy did things none of us would ever do. A Golden Gloves boxer, just a tough, tough, tough guy, right? Um, he never had anxiety. He used to be the one to make fun of me all the time because me and him
Mhm.
fought all the time and everything. That he's just shut up, whatever.
Yeah.
He, it's because his medication. They said, hey, your cancer's backed off. You don't need it as much anymore. So he just, all right, good. Marine that he was, I'm out. So he quit
Yep.
taking it. Right. Well, anxiety, panic attacks came in. He
Mhm.
jumped off of it too quick. Panic,
Yep.
dread, 24/7. He had it and he called me up, says, Jeff, I'm having panic attacks. I have anxiety. I feel this 24/7 dread. And I was like, dude, and I kind of walked, talking through it. Then I found out that he jumped off of his morphine too quick. Um,
Yep.
my point of the story is that he goes, I would, after he got back in business, he goes, I'd rather have what I have than what you have.
Mhm.
I'd rather have stage 4 cancer and my imminent death than what you
Yep.
have as far as the anxiety. The last week he was alive, we talked about that again. And he goes, I still would rather take what I have than you have. So anybody, this is within days of him dying.
Wow.
This is a guy facing death. The fear of it, the angst was worse than the actual event itself. I don't know if I phrased that correctly or not, but
Absolutely. Wow.
massive. Just goes to show you, have you all got there dealing with it? It's harder. I know it's hard. Um, what you're going through, and don't let anybody tell you that it ain't hard. You know,
Yep.
I lived that for quite a while, but yeah. Sorry to get
No,
off on a tangent there,
no,
but
that's so good. All that stuff is so good. I was telling my husband today, this is like kind of okay. I always said, I wish everybody would have to serve tables at some point in their life. I think it gives them like a good perspective and skills and stuff. But I'm like, I also wish everybody had to go through at least a short bout of mental health dilemma in their life because I think everyone would be so much more compassionate about, things. And it's no joke. The verse you were talking about, is it the one that says we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials for know they help us develop endurance? Is that what it was? Yeah, I was reading that and that stuck out to me too. And I'm like, okay, we can rejoice when we run into problems because they help us develop endurance. So even thinking about that, it's like, man, endurance is such a big thing that a lot of people never even have to like gain, you know?
yep.
Um, and the next verse, and endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And this hope will not lead to disappointment. For we know how dearly God loves us and has given us the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with his love.
It starts there. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds. I like where it says when, not
Yep,
if.
exactly.
You are going to hit them because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Perseverance was a word that came out, and this is the NIV, right? endurance, perseverance.
Mhm.
Persevere, if you look at the definition, and I remember again, this was just like mind blowing to me, was to persevere means to stay the course of action
Yep.
of difficulty or trouble with little to no hope of success.
Mm. Mm. Wow.
Little to no, you're going to keep moving forward.
Mhm.
I don't even think it's going to work, but I'm going to keep moving forward.
Yep.
That is what you do through anxiety. You embrace that perseverance. That's a T-shirt I need to make next. Is the perseverance.
Yes.
I always thought the perseverance meant you did it. Oh, he
Mhm.
persevered. Yay, good job. He won the battle.
Get it
No,
through.
persevere is a verb.
Yep.
Persevere is like you actually have to go through this. Yeah, you're staying the course of action. You get hit with all these symptoms, all these thoughts, day after day, 24/7, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, the fear, the angst, it's unbelievable. But you keep pressing forward, you'll get there. So let
Mhm.
perseverance finish its work so you that may mature, complete, not lacking anything. Think of that one.
Yep.
Oh, my mom used to say that to me. And I did not know when because she was one of my rocks when I was, and she always brought back to God. When I used to drive across the country in my 20s, in my 30s, 40s, all my life until she passed.
Mhm.
I'd call my mom and I'd be having anxiety. Oh, how I feel. And she'd bring it to God and try to relate with me the best she could. But she would always, at one time, she goes, Jeff, just repeat this. I'm whole, complete, full, and lacking nothing. I'm whole,
Yep.
complete, full, and
That's it.
lacking nothing. Little did I know the verse that finally that me and my brother stood on decades later would be part of it would be that you'd be mature, complete, not lacking anything.
Wow. That's
That's what
amazing.
you'll become. That's anyways. Goosebumps,
Oh, I know. That's so good.
massive. So yeah,
Wow.
and that's why I stay on the words you hear me say. Stay the course. You
Yep.
feel you're just a buffalo, you're facing the wind, you're getting punched every day. Get up, you get knocked down 5 times, stand up 6. God's got your back. There's something that's bigger than little did I know that when I was standing on I used to do this hike every day. And man, when I used to do that hike, I'd pray and I was praying. I cried, Emily. I'm talking tears of like a baby. Like I couldn't catch my breath. Couldn't catch my breath, right?
Mhm.
Help me, help me.
Yep.
Who would think that you'd go from that to I'm helping people with anxiety? All I
Yeah.
wanted was out. I didn't care. I was good with my life. My effed up life was I was like, okay, I just want to get back to that. I want to send, please, Lord, please, please, please help me, help me, help me. Never did I know I'd be driving on highways I could do, flying with no anxiety, burying my brother with little to no anxiety. It was an empowering experience. Never thought that could happen.
Yep.
Go from that. So God's got something to plan. God's got something bigger. It's not just the symptoms. It's not just not being dizzy. You put your faith in those words right now. Put your faith in that. You put down everything Emily teaches you. You'll get there.
Yep. I completely agree with you. That's so good. Yeah. It's one of the things, and before I forget to say this too, circling back on the spiritual warfare thing, my stance on that is anxiety is 100% from Satan. Anxiety is not like especially like the engagement piece, right? When I'm talking about engaging with the what ifs, engaging with the fear, like all that kind of stuff, that is not from God, right? And like you said, the whole binding demons thing, I was doing that too. And I won't lie, if I wake up in the middle of the night and I have like a weird dream, I'll be like, I rebuke this. Okay, now I'll move on and go back to bed. And a lot of times we can get kind of like caught up in that, like we have to fight this, but the battle's already won. You know what I mean? It's not even a fight. It's just like we don't need to engage with it because that's when we're in the battle. When we're engaging, we are now battling. Now we are 100% consumed by spiritual warfare. Otherwise, we just have symptoms. It's there. It sucks. Move on, right? It is what it is. Move on. So yeah, I wanted to say that too, because I definitely believe in that, but it's kind of like a twist. It's not something we have to like attack. The
Yeah.
fight and the attacking is the problem, you know?
Oh, no, prayer is,
Yeah.
if I didn't pray those prayers years ago, if I didn't pray the prayers, all of it has
Yeah.
something. When it comes, it's all going to come in His time.
Yep.
It,
100%.
I can tell you this: if you're starting this journey now, it ain't gonna take you 3 decades.
Yep, 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 yep,
You're shortcutting it decades by taking this path, period.
yep.
I did it all. You've tried it all. I mean, I spent a lifetime, thought I was broken, never thought I could get there. What's funny, the answer's out there,
Yep.
but never was there a community and a support system. And God had just meet the perfect time in my life, other people's lives. That's where we're at in society now, that um, you can get through this,
100%. Yeah, I agree. I like the verse thing too. We're in the process of like praying through life verses for our kids. And so my husband's trying to come up with these like life verses for each kid and figuring out, okay, God, put a verse on our heart for them. And it's almost like that's kind of like your life verse, like your mom had prayed over you, and then it's crazy how that stuff happens. What would you say? Because I have a lot of people on this channel that I coach as well that are not believers. I don't know about you, you probably come across a ton of people that don't believe. What would you tell them? Because what I tell them is like at the end of the day, can I help anybody get to a place where maybe they're not having chronic symptoms? Yes. Believer, not believer, it doesn't matter. But is that meaningless when it comes to the big picture? Meaningless, completely meaningless, right? There's so much more to life. And also, too, I would say that God, it's not just this checkbox. If anyone's just kind of been part of like religion, it's not just this checkbox or something, it's a relationship. And God is there to get you through the good and the bad. And like you said, there's going to be trials, there's going to be bad. And God is someone that's it's not just going to heaven one day or whatever, but it's literally having someone that you can completely surrender to and like rely on and have as your heavenly father. And it's like such a big deal. So it's like, yes, I can help you, right, get out of this place, but I cannot give you the peace that God can give you. So what would you say to someone listening that is not a Christian?
You can recover. I mean, when it comes to anxiety,
Yeah.
all these principles we're talking about, they're biblical. It's not like anything we're talking about it's not new.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether you believe or not, I mean, these are biblically based, whatever. Um, I unlocking freedom, having Jesus as your savior, personal savior. I could spend an hour on that alone. No, but when I talk to people, everything we talk about, surrender, having faith, speaking good, empowering words, love, compassion, forgiveness, patience. It's all the gifts. It's all
The
being
spirit, right?
virtuous, being virtuous. Everything we're talking about.
Yep.
So low key. I mean, you're
Yep.
basically doing you're living the way you
Yep.
should, as far as in the Gospels. You don't have to be a believer. You want desensitized? I've helped people all around the world. They most of them aren't Christians, Muslims, things like that. They'll recover, and you get the right mindset. But as far as when it comes to the eternal deal, I
Yeah.
mean, you have to have another podcast on that one, right?
We will. Stay tuned for that. I have one video on death anxiety. And again, it's like I can help you get to a point where you're not having chronic derealization because you're stuck on the hamster wheel of anxiety, but it's real, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, we'll have to do that because I would love to have a chat just on that. But yeah, I agree with you, right? It's like what we went through our recovery program, it was not a Christian-based program. I would say most people were not believers, right? And they have their lives back. But having God, having Jesus in your life, having the Holy Spirit in your heart is invaluable. And we will definitely have to talk more about
I
that.
talk about, I talk about God, my faith, and I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not preaching to them, anything like that, but I believe that what we're doing is we're doing in the Gospels where you're giving of yourself.
Yeah.
We're sharing. What are we talking about? We're talking about love and forgiveness and patience and not worrying and having some faith in the process. And you're showing people, you're witnessing in a different way. You know,
Yep.
I love,
100%.
I do. I know we know where everybody is,
Yep.
and I truly when we're connected, me and you, Emily, we didn't know, and we've been through all the people you've recovered, we've helped recover. You become
Yeah.
connected,
Totally.
literally like a brother and sister,
Yeah.
because we have faced a horrible campaign together, a
Hmm.
hard thing. And once we meet, we're like, "You're my sister. I love you, man.
Hmm.
Love you. I
100%.
got you. I'll come right now. What can I do to help you?" And all of that is uh, the way we should live.
Yeah.
Uh, and I
I
think
can.
they see it in your heart, Emily. You know what I mean? It's almost, and I'd say majority of my, we don't talk about that on mine, and maybe I should, maybe I'm need to do more of that, but I think it's actually beautiful that yours is in that vertical, and it gives me the opportunity where I can open up here,
Yep.
um, uh, speak to our brothers and sisters that are Christians, uh,
Yep.
and even the ones that aren't, man. You know,
100%.
majority of my people aren't either. I mean, they believe, don't believe, but we don't even discuss that. But you
Yeah.
can. It's inevitable. You will recover.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Man, that's so good. Let's see. Do you have a little bit more time? I know
Yeah,
we've been
I
going
got.
extra
Yeah,
time.
let's do this, man. I love this stuff. Isn't that
Joe
weird?
Rogan.
I mean, I love this stuff, man. I really do. I do. Um, because I had faced 4 decades of my life, thought I was broken, and found a way through. I just like, man,
Yeah.
really. And I meet somebody, and then you see them moving. Like some of my people, they couldn't. I remember one guy, his name was Josh. He could, sitting on his front porch was a W, just sitting on his
Oh,
front porch talking to me. Right. And then next thing I know, he was sitting in his car. Next thing I know, he's going to the end of his driveway. Next thing I know, he's doing this or that. He has Disney, DVD, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
While later, he ends up he raised chickens, show chickens. They were
Oh wow.
he wasn't to eat them, but they were
The
beautiful
ones
chickens.
like little poofy heads or
Yep.
whatever.
He used to do it, but he started raising chickens again. He started showing them again, and he wouldn't drive anywhere. Couldn't leave his house. Driving to the end of he would drive to his driveway and just sit there and freak out.
Yep.
Girlfriend 2.5 hours away. They're seeing each other all the time. He's showing chickens again. He's living his life.
So
So
good.
one of those means that, well, maybe everything we have been through has been for something. So
That's exactly what I told BG yesterday. I was telling him about something else. I was telling him about somebody else's story, and I was like, to see where they came from and where they're at now, like there's not many people that I meet that I'm like, they had it worse than me, and they might have had it worse than me. Like it was that bad. And I was telling him like if everything else failed, right? If my channel got deleted and coaching tanked and everything went south, it would be worth it, right? Just to have like one life, change. And it's so crazy to be able to get to do this, honestly. It's the most fulfilling like thing I've ever been able to do, right?
what do you think about the way of being a Christian
Yeah.
by paying it forward? And
Yep.
everybody on this call, as you recover, whether it's your children, whether you
Hmm.
decide to do this and help other people, whether it's one person in your life, and you're able to give them a little bit of the move of recognizing resistance, giving it up, letting the things be, even if it's not with anxiety, but in life, that you
Yep.
actually are applying this to life itself. That as you do this, you're walking the walk.
Yep.
You're doing, whether you believe in God or not, whether you believe in Jesus or not, you're doing it,
Yep.
and that is the way. And what a amazing gift we've been given.
Yeah. Totally. Yep. I know it does make it worth it, which is so funny because in the midst of it, I would have never said that. I would have been like, just
I
give
remember
me
I would
the
have given up my. It was I would have given up. I remember saying I'll give up my arm. You can have my arm, right arm, left arm, doesn't
yeah,
matter.
do the
And
brain surgery, take out the tumor, just like give me back.
no, take just you can take my arm. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll have a hook for the rest of my life. Um,
Yep.
I'm glad I still got my arms.
Yeah.
Never thought it could be, beyond that. And I know all of the people on the call right now. I mean, depending where you're at in your journey, you know,
Yep.
that
Yep.
not as you're not as unique as you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone.
Yep.
You're not broken. You're
Yep.
not. This is just. It takes time.
Yep.
You know?
I completely agree. And even like me and Jeff met when we were going through recovery, right? In another different type of program. And so it's like, it's not just, again, it's never just getting rid of your symptoms, quote unquote, right? It's the mindsets that transform your entire life, your kids' lives potentially as you raise your kids and your kids see you transform and they're like, whoa, and then you get to have like lifelong friendships and people because at the end of the day, like my husband does a lot for coaching channel and stuff too. But he's the first to say he doesn't get it. He has no idea. We go back and forth. He's like, but this. I'm like, there's nothing rational about it. Just no, listen to me.
Right.
And you get to meet people, right, that are going through the same thing and that are approaching it from like a healthy way, and not the people that you meet on the Facebook forums that or on the Reddit threads. Those are not the people I'm talking about. So yeah, I would say I strongly advise, if you cannot do coaching, then binge the stuff and just do it. Don't take a little,
Yep.
take a little that, take a little this, not do any of it. Do it, stick to it. It works. If you can join coaching and have somebody mentor you through this and walk you through this, do it. It is worth it. Coming from someone that spent a bajillion dollars on BS before I started recovering, I know it's frustrating, right? But coming from two real people, we can help you through this. And if you can't, then you can help yourself. Just stay consistent. Consistency is really hard, but it's possible, right? Anybody can recover.
Accountability was really
Yeah,
probably the biggest part was accountability, but it was really the community.
yeah.
Knowing that you got people that look you eye to eye, like because you'd well, you got this. Oh, really? You got this? You got you feel that way? I was like, sweet, I got this. I didn't know that I wasn't the only one, right? So having a community, then you'd have people that are recovered. They can relate with you, but you're also got some people that are you're covering with. And as long as you don't go down the wrong path of your whining about symptoms or anything like that and trying everything else under the sun, but you're committed to the process together and you can support each other.
Yeah.
That's what helped me through recovery. It truly
Yeah.
did, by having the group calls, the
Mm.
connection with people like myself, the encouraging people all the time, being there for each other, because you're gonna go through waves.
Yep.
You're gonna get throttled. It's gonna happen. Whereas when I'll be on my alone before, I did everything. Literally, cognitive behavior therapy, Linda Bassett. Google that one. Back in '95, I bought a cassette program, right?
Oh my
It was called the
gosh.
Anxiety Center. You buy these 10 cassettes, then I upgraded to CDs. Um, that coaching back then, but it was all done. It wasn't that physical this,
Yep.
right? It wasn't that and it helped. It made you feel good, better. But what happened, you'd get off, put the book down, and then you would go back, plug back into life, and then you get sidetracked and you start, oh, that's not working. So you chase something else or whatever. Um, and then even like years ago, I went to Dare. Great stuff, Barry McDonough, diffuse, allow, run towards,
Mhm.
engage. Uh, I practiced all that. They even had, it was called Panic Away, I think, a long time ago. I don't think it was called Dare, like 20 some odd years or 20. Um, but alone, I'd get sidetracked. I'd fall off the rails. And
Yep.
that's why the community was great to me. There's so many healers out there and so much you get bombarded. Now you get through TikTok.
Yep.
I never did. I had somebody dare me, said, Jeff, throwing up there, man. I think I think people like listening to you. I'm like, all right,
Yep.
cool.
Killing it.
Boom, it lit. Didn't think it'd do as well as it did, but it did. Then, and I never even looked at it. So I would only look at I do my videos and edit it and put it out there. Then I started noticing my feed and I found myself scrolling. OMG. The stuff you get bombarded with as far as drink this, do this. One guy's like this, watch my finger. That's all you got to do.
Oh
Watch
my
my
gosh.
finger. Eating
That's
sour
all you
lemon.
gotta do. Don't
Hey,
worry.
man, done. 3 decades, bro. You'd have been okay.
Frustrating.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Or even hear stories of,
Like,
somebody
that's
that
the
they,
problem.
a month later, 2 months, 3 months, oh, 3 months, they're good. Like, oh, man, there's just so much that is,
Yeah.
too much. It becomes anxiety itself. Whereas you stick to it. But if you see I don't know if you can see my flag. Do you see a flag of the pirate up there?
Yeah. Yeah.
It says burn the ships above it. You can't really see it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was the mentality I took when I was like, you know what? When I come recovery, when this recovery, no mas. I'm not
Mhm.
looking the right, left, nothing like that. I'm doing this. That's it. And I'm putting in all my chips.
I love
And
that.
I'll take it as far as it takes. And you take that mentality towards this, and it paid off in spades, because then you're not looking around, always, well, could it be this? Could it be that? Don't get me wrong, I had doubts.
Yeah.
I sound all cavalier right now. Trust me.
Oh, I had
There were
doubts.
times I still cried, you
Yeah.
know.
Me
Uh,
too.
that still had tough times, but
Yeah,
you have to make the decision to commit like that.
man, that's so good. Have you seen that movie? I think it was King and Country, like their story. It was their parents' story, I think, the band, the Christian band King Country. I think it was their parents' story when they came as like immigrants from Australia, I believe. And like long story is this like amazing God story about pretty much coming like they were like really wealthy, famous like music producers or something like that, or video producers. I'm gonna butcher the whole thing, but anyway, they came to America, everything went south. They were like doing yard work to raise money. It was like really bad and they just kept hitting these like walls and eventually they did this whole like burn the ships thing and they took their kids and they were just like we're done, this is our only option, and it was, I'll have like chills. It's such a good movie, so watch that.
I'll
um
check it out.
yeah, but that's so good. So I guess to finish up, like what would you say, let me pull up my notes again so I don't forget anything. um the two things I want to cover are, one, just your general advice, right? Simplify recovery. What would you say recovery is? And then also, how has your life changed? Like besides just how you're responding to things, like how is life different?
Okay. Well, firstly, okay, so to simplify it, right? And you always try to simplify it best you can. And there's there's acronyms out there of how to recover. We look at our resistance, what the new move is, because you have to teach yourself of the new mindset, right? And you have to buy into that. You truly have to train your brain that way. So you have to look at, okay, these are the things of resistance, is checking your resistance and how you're responding to it, right? If I had to simplify it, buy into it, give it 110%. You
Yeah.
want to recover, you will recover. I promise you, with everything that's in me, I don't think I've seen anybody fail. Everybody's journey is different.
Mm-hmm.
Takes time. Commit to the process. Commit to the instruction, the coaching that you have based off Claire Weeks, what Paul David, this whole resistance, acceptance, and community, which I think is massive. That's the third part of it, which having the community. But you commit to that, and yeah, surrender. I
Yep.
mean, literally surrender the process, surrender to the symptoms, give up trying to fix it, trying to repair it, trying to push it away, trying to and if I had to simplify it that way, but commit to it, you'll get there in a matter of time.
Yep.
It's just and words matter. I think there's something I've been hitting so much on everybody lately. I'm going to do a video on that soon, which is uh, what you speak. 'Cause you think anxiety feeds off of that, and I think there's this doctor there's a study basically on that. It gives you what you speak is like a predictor of what's going to happen, right? Um, so what you speak, and it's biblical also. Uh,
Yep.
your tongue is your oar to a very large ship. Now, I used to speak. There's kind of the name it and claim it kind of. I'm
Mhm.
going to be rich. So you speak, I'm going to be rich. So you're going to be rich. Okay.
Yeah.
That
Like
never worked for me. But
I almost brought that up earlier. I was gonna say the name it and claim it actually drives me nuts. And that was one of the things in Christianity when I was struggling with this. People like, claim it. You are healed. You are free from anxiety. And I'm like, bro, no. Like made me like scream. I'm like, that is not,
I claimed it.
is it not how it works, but it's not biblical. I'm like, that
Well,
no.
but if I claimed it. I claimed it 1.8 zillion times. I
And you
spent
were next.
hundreds of hours naming and claiming it.
Yep.
Oh, either A, I'm doing something wrong, or God wasn't, you know what I mean? But anyways, that's another debate.
Yeah. Go
So
ahead.
so the words were basically it's encouragement and power, it's optimism, it's glass half full, it's optimism and positive opposed to negative. I'll never recover.
Yeah.
I'm broken. I'll never get through this, right? Or hey, I'm on my way. Let's go.
Yeah.
Those words matter.
That's so true.
And not just for anxiety itself, to everything in your life, those words matter. Um, whether it be something going on with you and your spouse or work, or I hate my boss. Well, boss is a little difficult, but we'll figure it out. that stuff matters, man. It's a linguistic programming. There's tons of scientific evidence. We just bore you to death. We all know it works. And once again, it's also biblical that you stick with that. So you change your words of what you're going to say. You know, I'm on my way. That had panic attack. That bank's horrible. I can never have another one again. Hey, that was a wild ride. You know, let's go. Let's do another one. And even when
That sucked anyway. Yeah.
when I used to say about surrender, when I truly when I was on my recovery, I had done so much, but I recognized I truly didn't accept. I was
Yep.
like, you know what, man? I'm switching my view. I'm switching. I'm identifying anxiety. You know, I'm engaging back in life like that, and I was noticing my resistance, but I truly didn't accept. So I spent, if there's any one word you hear me pounding on, is surrender. Was I did this when I realized I wasn't accepting. I was like, man, I still don't want to die. Not that I want to die, but I'm afraid of dying. I'm afraid of getting sick. I want the dizziness to go away. I knew that was the missing piece, right? So I went into basically, this is notes from when I did it, when I was recovering. And I basically went down, and the reason I wrote it down old school is I wanted to put pen to paper of everything I found online, from Paul David's book to Claire Weeks to Dare to everything I could find online and everything of what acceptance meant, what it truly meant. And it boiled down to the true power through anxiety lies in accepting the worst possible outcome and deciding to be okay with it.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Yeah.
true power through anxiety lies in accepting the worst possible outcome, being okay with it. What's the worst thing? Oh, Jeff, you're gonna might die. All right, let's go. Jeff, you can pass out right here. All right, let's go. But in the meantime, I got things to do. I'm gonna keep moving forward. Um,
Absolutely.
and I don't know how I got off this diatribe, but that, as if there's any hook, obviously, is to, and you're not going to get this in the beginning. It's not just because I've even had some people, oh, I just got to accept, that's it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes a lot of work, man.
Just, yep,
It's,
so much.
this is the myelination. This is the training. This is why I had to be coached. And once I made the decision, like, okay, that's where it is. I didn't all of a sudden just surrender and everything is fine. I had to surrender daily. I had to accept daily through scary times. Did I bail? Did I unplug? Did I go back to resistant? Did I stay home? Was I in the store every time saying, bring it? No. But did I practice it? Did I practice it? Yeah, and that was one of my moves, man. I'd turn my palms up. I'd be walking through the mall or into the store or through the mall or driving. Well, I didn't do it when I was driving, but I mean, physically did it.
Bring it. If I crash, just
Let's go. If it
yeah.
happens, it happens. Let's go. But in the meantime, I'm going to do this here. That as you wrap your head around that, practice that, it then becomes part of you, and you actually have that mentality. And I think I told you this, and I was fear of death was the biggest thing for me, totally. That because I almost died. I watched my brother, my closest in age, 2 years from me. He took his last breaths in front of me. With AIDS back in '95. My mom died. My dad died. Then I had another brother randomly die. Well, then my brother, all of those sent me into this horrible spiral, right?
Mhm.
Fast forward to recover, changed my relationship with anxiety and worry. I've changed my words in my life and everything, right? My brother, who's my bro, we done everything together. We had a bromance. Out of 5 brothers, me and him, and I got something special to each and every one of my brothers. There's no doubt. But me and him, there was something special. He was kind of my hero when I was young. But even throughout life, I was a rock of his. He was a rock of mine. Gets
Mhm.
stage 4 cancer over the last 3 years of his life. We've been through a tremendous amount. Together. I'd fly out there for um, the last week he's gonna be alive. So I'm there. We spent time. We laughed. We cried. He was cognitively struggled, but sometimes he'd get good. I was able to do things in the past that we did as little kids. I'd go get food from downstairs. We'd watch TV late and laugh and bust each other's chops. knowing it was, but also taking care of him. He couldn't walk anymore, and I had to take his urine. I had to dump it. He made fun of me. He had me on that duty, because it made me sick, things like that. I'm painting a picture. I had to say goodbye to him. I got to say goodbye to my brother, which I never thought I could do. This is ground zero of all the anxiety for me, right? I got to me and my brother we looked at each other. I said, I gotta go. He starts crying. I'm crying. We made a couple of jokes. He even said, get the F out of here. He's a hardened Marine. And we laughed, we cried, we hugged it out, kissed each other, partied almost like Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp. I mean, just couldn't be any better. And then to within 24 hours that he passes away. So I had to fly. I flew back to California, back to
Oh man.
Indiana. The service, everything like that, ground zero, everything that happened was an amazing experience. Grand, beautiful experience to be a part of it. Yeah, did it hurt? Was it sad? Yeah. But was it Jeff losing his mind because I didn't have sleep and my brother died and death and life? No.
Mm.
What changed was my response to everything I felt, my emotions, what's inevitable to come in my relationship, everything that was transpiring in my life, that it changed and it became something that could have been the hardest thing ever that happened to me in my life, became one of the most empowering things that I was a part of. I'm so blessed to be able to be there, say goodbye to my brother, to be the pallbearer, help bury him, and be there his last week,
Yeah.
and to share this also, just unbelievable. So that ties into how I apply in life. It's everything. My words matter. I instead of me saying this is going to be so hard,
Mhm.
I'm looking forward. I'm blessed to be able to be a part of this, my brother. I'm blessed I was there for his be able to say goodbye. I'm blessed his last week. I'm blessed I could be. I'm thankful I'm part of this journey of his and mine.
Yeah.
And everything in life that goes on for you, recovery and beyond. Yes, we have to say to anxiety symptoms, bring it. You do what you got to do. If I go down, I go down, right? Life is the same way. If there's anything I do, the next level up is as life comes at you. When you got things coming to you, whether marital stress, financial, job, whatever comes at you, just all right. This is what it is. Let's go.
Yep.
Not catastrophize. Oh, I can't do this. Wringing your hands, worrying, overthinking about it. Take things, kind of take every day as a gift. I don't know when I'm going to cross over. I told my brother, I'll see him. We'll see you on the other side, bro. And it's inevitable, right? We will meet again. But until then, every day, treat every day, not necessarily like your last, but let that
Yeah.
base your decisions. What am I going to do today? What am I going to do today? Whatever happened yesterday, that's spent money. It's spilt milk. What's happening in the future? We don't know. I'm a plan to work, but right now, I'm going to give Emily and everybody on this my best.
Yep.
I'm going to do, and when I hang this up, I'm not going to change it. And you take these words and you empower your life. Everybody you meet, greet them with a smile. Think of patience. Think of love. Think of forgiveness. Read virtues and go towards that. You'll live 1,000 lives in one life.
Yep. Yep.
Everybody dies, but who truly lives? So we get every day, every day, every day. And that's what anxiety takes you out of. It takes you out of today,
Mhm.
takes you out
Yeah,
of this moment.
it does.
I'm sorry.
Man,
I got a soapbox. I'm all fired up.
it's so good. So much good stuff in one very long call. So if anyone's hanging out, still good. But no,
I like to
it's
see how they're
gold.
hanging on at this point. They're just like, jeez, don't you have a life, man?
Whoa. Yeah. No, it's so good though, man. So much good stuff. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the same thing with life. And what's funny is like what I teach is more of the practical like pace and pressure and are we overcommitted and boundaries and stuff like that. But to simplify it even more, like what you're saying, the whole mindset of just like appreciate what you have and watch how you're viewing things and your perspective and gratitude even and stuff like that is very important, right? Because I mean, could you imagine if your brother had passed away even 2 years ago or 3 years ago? Completely different thing. And I think when you get on the other side of the anxiety cycle, this whole thing, this whole phase of life, season of life, you come out so changed if you
Mhm.
let yourself. You know what I mean? It's like you have to do it. And going back to like the whole like people that have not recovered thing, I think anyone that fully goes down this path, 100% of them will recover no matter what, no matter how long you've been in it, how old you are, like none of that matters. But the ones that don't recover are the ones that keep trying this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And it's never ending. There's so many paths you can take. And like Jeff was saying, all these people, the whole this thing, and it's freaking crazy. And what I tell people too is like, I don't want to sound like that guy that's like, only watch my content. But it's like, watch my content, watch Jeff's content, there's like a few people that I'm like, these people are solid. Dan, Pain for You, if you come across him, I love Dan. He's great. It's about chronic pain, but it's the same stuff. And so I'm like, watch this. This is all good, you know? Everything else, who knows what they're going to say? Who knows what path they're going to lead you down? Even like for their own good of like join my hypnotist program. It's like, will that help you recover? No, of course not, but someone's making money off of it somewhere. And yes, just stay true to it. But mindsets are hard. And people ask too, well, why do doctors say anxiety, can never be cured, or panic disorder can never be cured? Um, One, I want to be careful about the word cured, right? But even so, it's like, because doctors can't tell you all this. They can't help you completely change your mindset. And counseling, I've had a lot of like really fruitful counseling that I've had, but not for this, right? Because unless someone has walked through this themselves, they're reading out of a textbook. And I don't even know where they got that from, to be honest. So it's like, it's one of those things where you've got to let it transform your entire life. The anxiety symptoms are a drop in the bucket. Life is the big picture. Life got you into this. So let's make sure we're not just focusing on the anxiety symptoms. Yeah, I
Oh
agree.
yeah, I call it the full 360 because, or no, top down, bottom up. I mean, we come in, the reason you're talking to Emily or myself is for symptoms. I mean, when I come in, I'm dizzy, I got this, I got that, right? It's
Mhm.
almost like that's the weed. I'm not gonna give it the flower, but anyways, it's like above ground is the foliage, the weed, right? So you come in, you respond, acceptance, recognize your resistance, you change your relationship, and you're allowing things to be there. You're living life, blah blah blah. Symptoms start to fade.
Yeah.
The root of anxiety is all that stuff you're doing. Now you can do that all day long, but it did that for me for decades. Boom, it
Yeah.
popped right back up. Never did I intentionally. I never just let the symptoms be there, just move on, care, surrender. Yeah, I never tried that, right? And I'd try through diet and exercise, whatever, get the symptoms somewhat I thought were in control over time.
The
But until
roots are
you actually, from bottom up, the root of anxiety, which is overthinking, worrying,
yep.
which that if you boil the resistance down, it's worrying.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
worry. It is anxiety, and that's what in the Bible and in Matthew and basically saying, "Don't worry, man. Who you think had 1 hour? Who you think put clothes? The whole thing. You can tie that to all the different worries that we have. That boils down to, but all that overthinking and rumination and thinking over and over and over, the what ifs, the whys is happening, when's it going to happen? The three W's to apocalypse, opposed to, truly fixing everything in your life. Why is this happening? And then thinking about nighttime, you have somebody at work that really made you mad. You're just thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking
Yeah.
until you add that piece. Because I
Mhm.
had that where I had a business partner that I thought 24. I mean, for decades I had this problem, and it was just I'd have an argument
Mhm.
in my mind. That person isn't even there, and I'm sitting there going, right?
Like going back and forth, like a whole like play.
Yes, I'm justifying it, right? Then you catch yourself, and it could be that, it could be anything. You fill in the blank, and you catch yourself. I started catching myself, which is key because that's a level of acceptance of just identifying and saying, "Whoa, I'm caught in that loop again." Right? Okay, nothing there. Re-engage in life. Right? I notice this just happens zillions of times, whatever, and you eventually break that loop. But when you start doing that, anxiety, so you change everything in your life like that. I'm not going to ruminate if we went too long, or if I spilled my coffee, or if I crash my car, whatever may happen. I'm not going to just sit there and freak out over it and overthink it. So later on, that you're doing it from top down, bottom up. If any of that makes sense, what I'm saying.
Really good. No, that's so good. Wow. I think we covered it all. Well, besides, we want to do a second call on the faith stuff, but
So
anything else you can think, anything else you want to share, anything at all?
I got so much. We could spend days here. We really could. Yeah, I love this stuff, and no, nope.
Wow.
I think we covered a lot, and yeah, I think we encourage everybody. Tell them that they knew the move, and keep coming back.
Man. All right. Well, that's so good. We're gonna have more of these for sure. Maybe we can do a Q&A at some point too or something. But whoever's still watching, you guys are the real ones. But thank you for watching. Jeff, thank you so much. This was so good. This is gold. And subscribe to the channel. Check the link in the description for TikTok, for Jeff's TikTok, for my information, for further stuff. And thank you again for watching.
Stay the course.